What's up, guys? In today's video, we shall be talking about the three methods required to find mean for group data. So first of all, wherever group data is involved, common sense, everybody knows that class interval also will be involved. See, I'll try to give you hints to remember three methods. Method number one is something called as direct method. Method two is a shortcut. Method three is called as step deviation. I want you guys to remember the order. Direct first, shortcut next, and then the last is step deviation method. So obviously, one common hint which works throughout all the three methods is look at the last column. Whatever the last column is, you always end up using that as your main formula or in your main formula. Getting it? So here, this is right now the direct method. If you see the last column, it says fx. Fine. I'll explain the meaning of f and x and all those things right now. But look at the formula here. Fx has been utilized in the main formula. So let's keep that in mind and let's start off. So for direct method, the first two columns will be provided to us, the class interval as well as the frequency column by default. I'm supposed to find the third one as well as the fourth one. The third column is nothing but x, is nothing but the midpoint of the class interval. So right now the class interval for the first one is 20 to 30. So what's the mid of 20 to 30? Common sense, 25. Automatically the next one will be 35, followed by 45, 55, 65 as well as 75. We go up to 75 in this case. Now, as the heading says there, fx. I know the value of f, I know the value of x, just keep multiplying. Now, which one is the easiest of all methods? I personally prefer, it is evident that it has to be step deviation method. Fine. But a lot of people get confused in that, thinking that, see, the number of columns in that is more. That's your hint. Wherever the number of columns are more, it is just that it is becoming much more simpler in your calculation wise. I'll give you an example. If you see whatever set of data I've taken for question number one using the direct method, I'll take the same set of data to for the remaining two methods, being shortcut as well as the step deviation method. I'll give you a few hints. Now let's take on the method here. Fx. 25 into 10, this is simple, 250. Again, keep observing the numbers in the last column. They are actually three-digit numbers. Fine. Which means in the formula where it says summation of fx, summation meaning I'm supposed to keep adding them, it is going to become little difficult for me to add huge numbers. That's a problem. So 250. Then 35 times 6 gives me 210. 45 times 8 gives me 360. Next is 660. Next is 325. Next is 675. I'm using CalC right now, but you don't have that option in your exams. Fine. So according to me, it won't make any difference for me, but for you, it will make. Now, one more hint is, again, as I told you, in your main formula, the last column will play a major role. Similarly, in the main formula, the denominator for all the three methods is always summation f. Summation f all for everything. Okay, now what is summation f meaning? I'm supposed to add up all the frequencies here. So if you add up here, the answer here will be 50, which means 50 is my denominator. Here, if you add up, the answer will be 2480. Now, obviously, I'm using a calculator. You cannot. So my answer will be 2480 divided by 50. 0 gets cancelled. M equals 49.6. Please remember this answer. This is using the direct method. Fine. So two columns provided to us. Third column and fourth column is what I write. In the main formula, what is important? Always the last column as the numerator, denominator will be summation of f. That's the method right now. Now let's go to shortcut method. See, shortcut method is where we start assuming things. Fine. Now it's called as assumed mean. If you look at this right now, the same concept. They've given me Ci, they've given me F. But if you see the number of columns, it is one extra. Fine. So if you look at the last column here, it says FD, just like your bank FD. Remember that way. Okay. So again, as I told you the hint, your main formula should have the last column, which is obviously there. But let's stick on to the meaning of assume mean. Okay, got it. So let's start off. The value of x, as I told you, will be the midpoint of the class interval. So 20 to 30, the midpoint will be 25, followed by 35, the same concept, 45, 55, 65, as well as 75. Now, see, count the number of entries. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's an even number. So the mid here is either 45 or 55. Fine. Assumed mean should always be the middle number in your x column. Getting it? So right now we have two mids. Which one do we choose? Hint, we always choose the lower number. So right now 45 and 55 are the midpoints. We assume the mean to be 45. Okay, we assume the mean to be 45. Then we find the value of D. Getting it? Now what's the formula for D? Always understand D is x minus a. One more hint I'll give you. If a is being involved in the column, okay, it'll always have a minus before it. It'll always have a minus before it when during column stage. Remember this. Now, I'm supposed to find the value of D. D equals x minus a. I know the value of x. I also know the value of a. So first one, it'll be 25 minus 45, which is nothing but minus 20. That's your advantage. If you look at this here, all of them in the direct method, these are all bigger numbers. Right now, the starting entry only is a minus 20, which means I'll be able to get my answer faster, provided you get your formula right. Now, what's the formula for the direct method? Sigma fx by sigma f, or summation fx by summation f. Same concept here, but I'll teach you a trick to frame the formula also. Fine. So next, 35 minus 45 gives you minus 10. 45 minus 45, 0. Then it becomes 10. Then followed by 20. Then it's followed by 30. Now, obviously, multiplication becomes much more simpler because it's FD. Guys, once you got an extra column, you should not find the value of fx. Don't you think it'll be dumb? You found something else, and if you again start finding fx, what's the whole point of assuming something and calling it to be a shortcut method? So you're supposed to use the last column, also called as ft column here. So f and d will start multiplying. So 10 into 20, sorry, minus 10 into minus 20 gives you minus 200. Fine. So again followed by minus 60. Anything next column will be 0. Next will be 120. Careful, I'm trying to multiply f's as well as the d's. So 5 times 100, 270. Now we got the answers. Framing the formula is an essential thing. Please remember, I'll give a hint right now. Whatever you did during the column stage, you'll do exactly the opposite. I'll tell you what I mean. Here during column stage, there was a minus a. We subtracted a, no? So we start off by writing a plus. So the logic, minus a during the column stage, a plus during a formula stage. Very important. Fine. So mean is, whatever we subtracted, we do the opposite. So minus a was there in the column stage, becomes a plus here, and regular hint as the direct method. What does it say? The last column, which said ft, summation ft by summation f. Now, don't you think this is much more simpler right now? Because, one second guys, summation f here will be obviously 50. How do I know in the previous case? Let's try to do summation ft. It will actually be very simple because we have a minus. We have a minus to deal with, which means it cancels out a lot of stuff. So this answer here is minus 260. This answer is 220, 490. 490, and so the 490 minus 260 will be 230. Getting it? So if you see in the direct method, my answer was around 24 it was in thousands. Right now it is automatically cut down to hundreds. But careful, minus a during the column stage becomes a plus during the formula stage. A was 45 plus as it is. Summation ft meaning 230 was there divided by 50. Ignore the 45 number completely. Only play around with the 23 by 5 part. Don't you think 23 by 5 is also easier to solve compared to the direct method? So this answer is 4.6. If you add 45 plus 4.6, you're getting the same answer as a direct method, which is nothing but 49.6. So how do you frame the formula? Remember this hint, because the same hint has to be applied for the next method also. Let's say by chance you divide something during the column stage. You'll obviously multiply during the formula stage. So since we subtracted a during the column stage, we're going to add a to the mean stage. I mean in the formula stage. Fine. Now this is my favorite, step deviation. People keep tripping over it. I'll give you a very simple idea. One step evolved compared to shortcut method. So obviously one step extra will be there. Now what's the main difference? There also you found the value of d, which was nothing but x minus a. One extra thing I'm going here, I'll be dividing by I. Now how to remember this? Observe the way I've written step deviation. Ignore the word step, only stick on the word deviation. If you see, I've written 2 letters in caps, wantedly. Look at this. So ignore EV in between, D and I. Okay, for step deviation method, I has to be involved. That's it. For step deviation method, I has to be involved. Now, what's the meaning of I? I means class size. Class size. For example, look at the class interval here, 20 to 30. What's the gap there? 10. So I for this question equals 10. That's it. You can check throughout. Talk about 30 to 40. What's the difference? 10. 40 to 50. What's the difference? 10. So throughout I equals 10. That's how easy it is to remember. So step deviation, we go one step ahead of shortcut. Now what is it? What has to be involved? I has to be involved. How do you remember this? Ignore the word step. And deviation, ignore those letters E and V. D and I are together. Wherever deviation is there, always I has to be there. Remember that. Fine. So we'll do the same thing here. X values will be the half of it. So 25, 35, 45, 55, 65 and 75. Here also I'm supposed to find the value of A. I told you what. In this question also there were 6 entries. 6 entries meaning these two will be the mid entries. But when you have 2 values, you always assume the lower value. By chance, let's say there's only 1 value. Absolutely zero confusions there. But whenever you have 2 values, you'll always choose the lower one. In this case, we again choose 45. Now, since in shortcut method, we use the letter D, we do not stick on the same letter. We go one step ahead and write D dash. Fine. Wherever D dash is involved, that by A has to be there. Divide by A. See, that's also one of the hint. Wherever step deviation is involved, you can also use these 2 letters to remember divide by I. D stands for divide. I stands for class size. So 2 letters has 2 different variations, has 2 different meanings. Fine. So let's start finding the value of D dash. First of all, think X minus A. 25 was here. A was 45. So 25 minus 45 gives you minus 20. But here the class size was 10. So don't you think minus 20 by 10 gives you minus 2? Getting it? So next one it becomes 35 minus 45 is minus 10. Minus 10 by 10 gives you minus 1. This becomes obviously 0. 10 by 1. This becomes 2. And the last one is 3. Automatically, you saw the reduction in numbers there. So easy it's right now. Now I'm supposed to start multiplying f into d dash. I'll highlight the columns. So I'm supposed to multiply this column with this column. Got it? So 10 into minus 2 gives you minus 20, minus 6, 0, 12, 10 and 27. So don't you think I got my answers within seconds here? Compare direct method. It was in thousands. Shortcut method, hundreds. Here right now it's in tens. Fine, 2-digit numbers. So we'll start again. How to frame the formula? See, it looks complicated, but focus. We subtracted what? Minus A was there, so it becomes A plus. So I understand that. A plus it becomes. Now open brackets. What is the last column? FD dash. So it becomes summation FD dash divided by summation F. This hint I told you during your direct method only. But why into I? Just now I told you, no. If you're trying to divide something by I in the column stage, just like the way you're doing it right now, right here. You're dividing something by I. So to counter that, you're supposed to multiply it by I later. That's it. Fine. So minus A becomes A plus, divided by I becomes into I. Now we'll start. M equals A, in this case was 45. I'll put a plus, I'll open brackets, FD dash. First of all, summation F is 50, same as the previous one. Into, I'll write, I was what in this case? I is 10. See guys, 99% of the time it will be 10 itself. Sometimes only they might change. Summation FD dash. Now don't you think adding the last column is much simpler right now? Fine. So 27 minus 20, 7 is the answer. 7 minus 6 is 1. 1 plus 12 is 13. 13 plus 10 is 23. So 23 is my answer there. So if you see 23 by 50 into 10 is there, automatically the 0 gets cancelled. We are remaining, what remains is M equals 45 plus 23 by 5 gets cancelled 4.6. 49.6 is your answer. Correct? So that's how you guys learn the method. So the only hint you're supposed to remember is step deviation. DI is important. Okay? Deviation, I has to be involved. What's the other meaning? You gotta divide by I. So 2 meanings for 2 letters. Okay? I'll see you in the next video.